Good evening, Blue Jay families. I know folks are currently just joining, so welcome. We're delighted to have you with us this evening, and we will get started here in about 2 minutes. So thank you for your patience. All right, good evening, Blue Jay families. Thank you for joining us for the Hop on Board webinar series. My name is John Fox, and I serve in the Office of Student Transitions and Family Engagement. This webinar is hosted by our office and includes new student orientation, first year experience, second year experience, and family engagement. Our mission is to facilitate a smooth and successful transitional experience for all students and their families to the Homewood campus. My specific focus in the office is to support Hopkins families and in particular, the Hop on Board webinar series. Tonight, I would like to welcome all of the Blue Jay families to the Hopkins family. We are about halfway through our Hop on Board webinar summer series. All of the webinars in this series have been recorded, and the recordings from previous topics are posted on our website. And you will find the recording and slide deck where you originally registered for this webinar. And we will periodically drop in links as appropriate so you can find these things easily. In tonight's webinar, we are delighted to have representatives from Student Enrollment and Account Management, also known as SEAM, as well as our Financial Aid Office to share information regarding tuition and finance options. During this webinar, if this is new for you, the way you can communicate with us is through the Q&A feature at the bottom of your webinar window. Feel free to ask questions throughout the entire webinar. We will do our best to answer all of your questions once the presentation is complete. We will spend about 40 minutes on the presentation and then have about 15 minutes for question and answer. If there's anything that you want to follow up on afterwards, feel free to contact me directly, and I will put our information up here at bluejayfamilies@jhu.edu. So with us tonight, we have an esteemed panel of three folks who are going to share a lot of great information with you. First, we have Kevin Anderson, Associate Director of Billing and Refunds in the SEAM office. We have Rhonda Arnold, Student Accounts Operations Specialist and Billing Team Lead in the SEAM office. And then we have Melissa Namer, Assistant Director of Financial Aid and Student Financial Services. And then you have yours truly as the host and the person who will be helping to get your questions answered at the end. I also want to remind you before we launch that we will post the recording as well as the slides following the presentation tonight. So you will have a chance to go back if you want to rewatch or look at a particular slide. So with that in mind, I would now like to introduce our first presenter, who is Rhonda Arnold from the SEAM office, and I'm going to turn it over to Rhonda.
Thank you, John. Hello, everyone. and welcome to Johns Hopkins University. My name is Rhonda Arnold, and I am the SEAM Student Accounts Billing Team Lead. Um, SEAM is Student Enrollment and Account Management. We are centralized student services at Johns Hopkins University. SEAM provides support in three key areas: student accounts, registration, and financial aid. I'm going to share a bit of information with you regarding student accounts to assist with managing your financial obligations to the university so that you can focus on your studies. Understanding your student's balance. Students or authorized users can view a student's balance in SIS self-service. To access, log into SIS in the column on the left of the screen, click on Billing, and then Summary. Authorized users. Due to FERPA regulations, the institution cannot discuss details of a student's billing account with anyone besides the student, who is the account holder. If a student would like to authorize any other individual to access their account or make payments, they can add an authorized user via SIS self-service. The authorized user's view is the same as the student's view in SIS. Once the authorized user is logged in to SIS in the column on the left of the screen, they will click on Billing, then Summary. Here, the authorized user can see the information that they have access to, as well as the actions that can be taken on the account, like setting up direct deposit or enrolling into a monthly payment plan. Student account transactions can also be viewed on that screen. One of the most frequently asked billing questions is, when is tuition due? For the fall 25 semester, tuition and other related charges became available for viewing for registered students, or for enrolled students, might I say, in SIS self-service on Monday, July 7th. Bills will be generated tonight, July the 9th, and available to students tomorrow, July 10th. The fall tuition is due on September the 8th. For spring 26, tuition and other related charges are tentatively scheduled for viewing in SIS on or around December 1st. Bills will be generated on December 11th and available to students on December 12th. Spring 26 tuition will be due on or around February the 2nd. All right, bear with me one moment. JHU offers, Johns Hopkins, we offer various payment methods. Payments can be made online in SIS self-service using an e-check or a credit card. Paper checks can be mailed in. Wire payments can be made using Flywire or Convera. Payments can be made by a third party. We also accept payments from 529 plans and prepaid tuition accounts. And we offer a monthly payment plan through Nelnet. We offer convenient payments through Nelnet to allow you to pay your education expenses over smaller monthly installments. Payment plans are offered in 5, 4, or 3 monthly payments per semester. There is a $55 per semester enrollment fee to use this service. Payments will be drafted on the 15th of each month. To enroll in a payment plan, you would log into SIS self-service under Billing, Summary, and enroll in Nelnet payment plan. For fall, payments begin in August and are made through December. For spring, payments begin in January and are made through May. Starting a payment plan after the semester's payment plan start date will decrease the number of monthly payments per semester, therefore increasing your payment amount each month. So you are able, if you enroll in August, you'll have the option to pay, or you'll pay from August through December, 5 months. If you enroll in September, then you would pay 4 months, September through December, and so forth. Please remember that we are here to help. We encourage you to contact us if you have questions or concerns about billing, payments, or refunds. Visit us at seam.jhu.edu for more information. And now I'll turn it over to Kevin Anderson, the SEAM Student Accounts Associate Director.
Good evening, everyone. All right, so I'm Kevin Anderson, Associate Director of Billing and Refunds, but I am filling in for third party. So we're going to talk about third party payers. All right, so third party payers. What are third party payers? Is when an organization such as an employer directly pays all or part of a student's tuition and fees within 45 days of receiving an invoice from Johns Hopkins University. Students must select a third party payer and submit documentation for each semester term within SIS self-service. The due date is August 14th for fall and January 22nd for spring semesters. Now, you may notice that that date is a little sooner than when tuition is actually due, but documentation will be accepted beyond those dates. Third-party payers, all right? Students can monitor the status of the third-party process in SIS self-service. Be able to see the status updates in SIS self-service. So we're going to talk about some of these statuses, starting with TPP certified. TPP certified indicates your contract has been reviewed by TPP and was successfully accepted. Contract denied simply means your contract has been reviewed by SEAM and was not accepted. If that occurs, an email is sent to the student to explain why it was denied. Invoice submitted simply means TPP has submitted an invoice to your third party. Invoice rejected means your third party has rejected the payment of your submitted contract. TPP will contact you directly via email to follow up. Payment received simply means TPP has received payment from your third party. Payments that are not received from the third party payer will become the responsibility of the student. Now we're going to talk at last about what's not considered a third party payer within TPP. Payments from family members or friends, payment plans, employer reimbursement. Students who participate in employer tuition reimbursement program should plan to pay all tuition and fees at the time of registration and follow their employer's procedures for requesting reimbursements. JHU does not accept contracts with third-party payers that require grade transcripts reviewed before payment or other conditions. If you happen to be a Johns Hopkins University employee, please visit the JHU Benefits and Work-Life Tuition Assistance page for additional information. That is my time, and I will now pass it off to Melissa Namer, who is the Assistant Director of Financial Aid.
Hello, thank you, Kevin. It's nice to meet you all. Again, my name is Melissa Namer. I'm Assistant Director of Financial Aid here at Johns Hopkins. And just going to go over some frequently questions our office receives when financial aid recipients are reviewing their bills and their financial aid award packages. We often hear questions such as, why is my fall bill more than I expected? Or why is my financial aid award not showing on my bill? And what should I do if I need to request additional financial aid? We're going to go over these questions and some more as we go along in these next couple of slides. So one reason, or one of the questions often we get from students when they're reviewing their bill summary, they're noticing it seems like it's higher than they expected. So one reason the bill might be higher than expected is due to the enrollment deposit and the $500 matriculation fee. The enrollment deposit is what you are submitting when accepting your offer of admissions. Most students are required to pay a deposit or down payment to the admissions office to confirm that they're planning to attend next year. This deposit or the payment goes towards your Hopkins bill for the fall, and it shows as a credit payment made towards your balance. And it's important to note that this enrollment deposit will not be repeated in future semesters. You paid it once when you confirmed that you were planning to enroll. Another one-time thing that you're going to see in your billing summary is the matriculation fee. The matriculation fee is what each new student is charged one time. It's a one-time fee as they matriculate or enter Johns Hopkins. It will not be repeated or charged in future semesters. And John, if you can move just to the next slide as well. And we're going to talk about the outside scholarships. So another reason sometimes your bill might be higher than you expected is because your outside scholarship has not yet been received and applied to your billing summary. It's important to know that outside scholarships will only appear on your billing statement until funds have been received by Hopkins. So even if you've already notified the financial aid office that you're expecting to receive outside scholarship, and we've made adjustments to your financial aid package accordingly that are necessary, it still will not show in your billing summary until we actually receive the check from that outside agency. If you are confident your outside agency may have thought that they had sent it and it's not showing on your bill, make sure to check with that outside scholarship agency just to make sure there aren't any steps you need to take before the check is sent to Hopkins. Some outside agencies might require proof of enrollment, perhaps such as a billing statement or your student's course schedule, or even sometimes we receive forms that need to be completed by the financial aid office to confirm your enrollment and the other scholarship funding that you're receiving before they will send the check and payment to us. So if you're not seeing that outside scholarship on your billing statement and you have already notified Johns Hopkins financial aid office of your outside scholarship and any necessary adjustments that have been made to your financial aid award package, if you want to get an idea of what you're going to owe once that's received, you can deduct the amount of that expected outside scholarship from the amount due to determine what that kind of end balance might be for the semester. Now, as mentioned, the outside agency may ask you, what address does that need to be sent to? Who do we need to send the check to? So here on the screen, you can see the address that the scholarship checks should be sent to. They should also be made payable to Johns Hopkins University. You can always refer back to this PowerPoint to get the address, or when you're on our website, you can check in the billing FAQs, as well as type in Ask Jay for third-party payment address, or what address should my scholarship check be sent to? And our chatbot will provide you with that address as well. Do keep in mind that sometimes you may need to sign or endorse the outside scholarship check before we can credit it to your account. If that's the case, we will notify the student by email if they need to come in and sign any checks in our offices. Also, again, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, you may have caught that I mentioned that sometimes adjustments have to be made for outside scholarships that students are receiving. Again, all financial aid recipients must notify student financial support of any outside scholarships via a private scholarship form. And then depending on the total amount of outside scholarships you're receiving for that year, we may have to adjust some of your financial aid award package to fit those into your package. Students can use private scholarships to reduce their student contribution and work study expectation components of their award package. If the total outside scholarships you're receiving for that year are more than those components, then we would have to start reducing the Hopkins scholarship dollar for dollar. Again, to report outside scholarships, you'll do that through our form in SIS self-service. And to do that, you'll click on financial aid, click the applications tab, and then the outside award notice form to report those outside scholarships you'll be receiving. If you have any questions regarding the impact of outside scholarships on your financial aid award package, please also do not hesitate to reach out to our office, or you can also find more information on our private scholarships page on our website as well. Another thing that students might be wondering is, why are my loans not showing on my bill? Now, do keep in mind that Hopkins meets 100% demonstrated need without any loans. We do not include loans in our financial aid award package. However, student and parents may choose to borrow as part of their strategy to cover their expected family contribution towards their college costs. To request a federal direct student loan, the student would need to log in to self-service and submit a loan action form. And if they're a first-time borrower, they will also need to complete a loan entrance counseling via federal student aid, as well as sign the master promissory note in federal student aid. And to do that, they'll log into their federal student aid account, just like they did for the FAFSA, and go through the steps through there. Now, another popular option for federal loans is our Parent Plus loans. And I've already seen some questions rolling in about Parent Plus loans. Parents may also request a federal loan through the federal government to assist their student in covering the family's contribution towards their costs. It does require a credit check, as well as parents must also sign a master promissory note. The max that a parent can borrow is going to be that cost of attendance minus any other financial assistance that the student is receiving, such as grants, scholarships, work study, and any federal direct student loans the student is borrowing. Now, sometimes you might be thinking, I want to take a loan. Why is it not showing in my bill yet? Keep in mind that loans will not post as anticipated credits to your bill until all necessary paperwork has been submitted and processed. And do keep in mind that you have to do some of those pieces through the federal student aid. So the federal government sometimes processes things a little bit slower than we do on our end. So do make sure you give yourself plenty of time to submit those loan applications and request those loans if that is one of the strategies that your family is choosing to cover their portion of the costs. Also really important to note that loans do not automatically roll over from year to year. Student and parents must request loans each year they wish to borrow. Now, again, we've covered a couple of reasons of why maybe your fall bill is a little bit more than you expected. But again, if it's seeming like it's more than you expected, make sure you're reviewing the billing statement very carefully for expected charges and credits. If you notice any financial aid that you were anticipating for the fall and it's not showing your bill, please be sure to reach out to Student Financial Aid Support so we can take a look and assist you. Sometimes there might be some documentation that needs to be submitted before those funds can show up, get posted to your summary. And so we're happy to kind of troubleshoot and see what might be happening. If there are any unexpected charges that you're not expecting, make sure to contact SEAM student accounts to inquire about those charges. One example or one thing that families sometimes don't expect is that Hopkins health insurance charge on your account. And your student has comparable health insurance through your family, so you don't need the Hopkins health insurance. Just wanted as a reminder that Hopkins does require all full-time students to maintain adequate health coverage and are automatically enrolled in the university sponsored health insurance plan. The premium is going to be charged to your account unless proof of comparable health insurance is provided. So if your student is covered through your family's health insurance plan and you wish to waive or opt out, you will need to submit a waiver request form. And you can find that in self-service by clicking on insurance benefits to then find the link to the AHP portal and then click on I want to waive button. It'll ask you to attach your insurance information. It'll be reviewed. And if it's determined that you have comparable health insurance, then that health insurance charge will be removed from your account. We also want to point out that Student Financial Support does have limited grant funding available for high-need students who are not eligible to waive the university health insurance plan, meaning they don't have comparable health insurance that covers them here in Maryland. And so our office will determine your eligibility for the financial assistance if the student's health insurance waiver request is denied and they are high-need students eligible for need-based aid. Note, funding is limited, so it's typically only awarded to students who demonstrate a high financial need and is also subject to availability of funds. Now, after reviewing your bill, the charges and aid you see are as you expected, but you're still just having difficulties covering that expected family contribution. If that's the case, if your family's financial circumstance have changed and you need to request additional aid, we're always happy to take a second look at your need need-based aid eligibility. We understand family situations are dynamic. Unexpected events like loss of income, death, illness, all of that can affect a family's ability to meet educational costs. And we're committed to meeting additional need and supporting families to the extent our resources allow us to do. So if there is new information or special circumstances you'd like us to review, you can submit a request for reconsideration through our appeal form and attach any supporting documentation to kind of support the special circumstance that your family is experiencing. If you're not sure what to submit, you can certainly schedule an appointment with your financial aid advisor to discuss your circumstance, and then we can help guide you through how to submit that appeal or request for reconsideration and supporting documentation. Now, also, because we know families' financial circumstances can change from year to year, we do also require that students reapply for aid each year. Now, our office will review your family's most recent financial circumstances each year to determine your eligibility. You'll be asked to submit again the FAFSA, the CSS profile, and next year if you're for the 2026-27 year, you're going to be asked to submit your 2024 taxes and W-2s via IDOC. Similar to what you did when applying for financial aid for this upcoming year, you'll just do it again, and we ask that you submit that all to us by January 15th. So all our returning students, the deadline that we ask that you submit your CSS profile, your FAFSA, and the required tax documents is January 15th. So then we can get you your financial aid award offer by June prior to the next year. Most families receive similar financial aid offers each year, but changes to financial circumstances or the number of family members in college can impact aid eligibility. So if there's any significant changes in your family's financial circumstances or household size or number in college, it can impact how much need-based aid you are eligible for. Now, as you're getting ready for the upcoming school year, some students also may need to purchase a computer or laptop to bring with them to school. So often we get asked, do you offer any assistance with the purchase of a computer? And the answer is yes. If you are a student who is eligible for need-based financial aid and you are eligible for a computer tech grant to assist in the purchase of a computer for school. This tech grant allows for one-time purchase within your 4 years of school to purchase a computer and relevant accessories. So things like the mouse, a keyboard, etc., up to $2,000 maximum. You would need to submit a budget adjustment request form through SIS self-service and attach a screenshot of either the receipt or a screenshot of the shopping cart that shows the cost of the computer you're intending to buy, and you would attach that to that budget adjustment request form. If approved, the TECA grant funds will be refunded directly to the student. Do keep in mind that other devices like tablets and phones will not be approved. The tech grant is only for the purchasing of computers and those peripherals such as a keyboard and mouse. It is also important to keep in mind it is a one-time grant. So if you have a working computer that's working just fine right now, I would recommend probably hanging on to that. That way, if your computer breaks in your second or third year, that tech grant is available for you to purchase that laptop to finish out your school year. Now, if you're eligible for need-based aid, students will also see either a federal work study or a Hopkins work study component in their financial aid award package. Work study gives students the opportunity to work part-time on or off campus and to use those earnings to cover indirect college expenses. Students receive a paycheck for their earnings just like any other job, and then use those earnings to go towards covering those indirect expenses. Many students are eligible for federal work study, which is a federally funded program that provides funding for part-time employment for students with financial need, which means that the government covers a portion of your employer's wages to pay you. Now, to utilize federal work study, students will need to provide an employer with authorization form, which can be found in SIS. And students are determined eligibility for federal work study via the FAFSA application. So it'll be determined by your FAFSA application. Hopkins Work Study is offered to students who are not eligible for a federal work study per their FAFSA application and is another way that students can work on or off campus. It's more essentially acts as a placeholder for potential work earnings in your award package. It's similar to federal work study in that you'll be paid an hourly rate and receive paychecks every 2 weeks for hours worked. The only difference is that your employer is covering your wages 100%. If you receive Hopkins Work Study, you'll have the option to work part-time within the Hopkins network. So how do you go out finding these jobs? How do you find the on-campus and off-campus jobs? Well, the University Experiential Learning Office offers job postings through their Smile and Handshake databases and provides tips to finding a job through those job search platforms. So you can always reach out if you're just want some tips of how to go about finding those on-campus and off-campus jobs. Now, we understand this may be only some of the questions you might have regarding financial aid and your bill. So there are many ways to contact us for any additional questions or questions that pop up as you're reviewing those bills. So in this next slide, you'll see all the different ways that you can contact us. You can give us a call. You can drop in at our Zoom walk-in hours. You can also submit a SEAM case, which we'll go into more detail how to do so a little bit later. And then, or you can even schedule an appointment with your assigned financial aid advisor. On the next page, you can see how every student has a designated financial aid advisor based on their last name. Even if you're when you were a prospective student, you may have reached out to us and already able to connect with your assigned advisor. We're here to help you and support you throughout your 4 years here at Hopkins. So when visiting our Contact Us page, you'll be able to find your advisor by your last name, and then there'll be a button that'll allow you to schedule an appointment with your assigned advisor. As mentioned earlier, SEAM centralizes student services at Johns Hopkins and provides a one-stop shop for questions regarding student accounts, registration, and financial aid. So I'm now going to pass this back to Rhonda, who's going to explain how to contact SEAM and submit a SEAM case with any of questions you might have related to these areas.
Thank you, Melissa. There are 4 ways to contact SEAM: via an online form, scheduling a virtual visit, stopping in for an in-person visit at one of our 3 in-person offices, and contacting a team member over the phone. To submit an online form, from the support landing page, you can either search specific keywords or questions or browse all topics. If you're not able to find the answer to your question, you can log in with your JHED to submit a case. Guest users without a JHED will need to create an account. Once you sign in to request support, you'll be directed to the online form. Complete the required fields and then click Submit. You can log into SEAM's online form to check the status of your case at any time. To schedule a virtual visit, visit the SEAM webpage, click on the Contact SEAM, then click on Schedule Virtual Visit. Feel free to also give us a call at 1-877-419-5131, Monday through Thursdays, 8:30 a.m. until 7 p.m., and Fridays, 8:30 a.m. until 5 p.m. We are also available for in-person visits at one of our 3 locations: Homewood campus, which would probably be the most convenient, the East Baltimore campus, and the Washington, D.C. campus. And thank you all.
Thank you, Rhonda. Thank you so much. So thank you for your patience. It was a lot to cover. I know it was a lot of content. I just want to remind folks that we will be sharing these slides by the end of the day on Friday, along with the recording. And so if you want to refer back to any contact information or content, you will have the ability to do that. So a number of folks are submitting in our Q&A area. So I'm going to look through some questions and ask for our panelists to answer a few of these out loud. So just to start off, I would like to, there have been a couple questions about paying by credit card, and that's been confirmed. Families can do that. One of the questions is about, is there, well, and also payment plans. So is there any interest charge with a payment plan or any additional fee for utilizing a credit card?
There are no fees for using the credit card. And when you enroll into the monthly payment plan, there is a $55 per semester enrollment fee that they charge for the payment plan, but there are no interest. It's a no interest, an interest-free payment plan, no interest.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much, Rhonda. Melissa, if I could ask you, a couple folks who have international students are asking a little bit about financial aid opportunities. Could you just touch on that briefly?
Sure. Just to clarify, we do offer financial aid for international students. However, international students must apply for financial aid at time of admissions. So if you have not applied for financial aid at time of admissions, meaning you didn't apply for financial aid before receiving your admissions into Hopkins, unfortunately, we would not be able to consider you for financial aid because we are need aware for international students. We have limited funding available, and international students are not eligible for our federal funding. So we do need to know at time of admissions if there is financial need at the time of admission. So if you did not apply for financial aid as an international student at time of admissions, unfortunately, we would not be able to consider you for financial aid. We do have other financing options that you can explore, such as payment plans and loans through private lenders. If you're a prospective student who is not yet international student that has not yet applied for admission to Hopkins as an international student, then you would need to make sure to let us know on your admissions application and apply for financial aid at time of admission so that we can make sure that we have enough funds for you if you're admitted and also get you that financial aid decision with your admissions offer.
Great, thank you, Melissa. If I can ask you another one, question related to, in this case, the National Merit Scholarship. How is that handled and how can it be utilized by the student?
Sure, great. So the National Merit Scholarships are handled just like any other outside private scholarship. So you would need to report that on the outside scholarship form on it that through the SIS self-service. And then we would use the outside scholarships to first replace your student contribution component. For incoming freshmen, that's typically $1,800. And then if your outside scholarships are more than that $1,800, then we would replace your work study component of your financial aid award package, which is $2,700. If your total outside scholarships are more than that $4,500 total between those two components, we would then start to reduce your Hopkins scholarship dollar for dollar because we need to squeeze it into your award package. We can't over award students. So there's a lot of great information I'll put in the chat where you can see how private scholarships are handled on our private scholarships page. There's some really good examples just to get a clear picture and some visuals, which can be helpful as well. So I'll put that in the chat.
Great, thank you, Melissa. If I can ask you one more at this time. So you talked about the technology grant. How is a student notified on that? Would it be at the time of the award, or how would they know they got that?
So so students are not automatically awarded that as part of their financial aid award package. They would need to submit a budget adjustment request form, and that's going to be in SIS self-service. And you would note that you're applying for assistance with purchasing a laptop or a computer, and then attach either the receipt of the computer that you purchased, or a screenshot of, like, say, the shopping cart in Amazon or Best Buy that shows the cost of the computer that you intend to buy. And if you have not yet received the tech grant yet in your 4 years at Hopkins, and if you are eligible for need-based aid, then it would be if it would then be approved, most likely would be approved, and then the funds would disperse to your account, and then you would be given a refund for that credit on your account to go towards the cost of the laptop that you purchased. But it is a separate, you do have to go in and request it. And that's also, keep in mind, think of it this way, you're not automatically awarded for that, because some students may have a computer that they already have, but then things happen, the computer stops working in year one, or I just had a student come to the office because theirs got ran over by a car. So you never know what might happen, coffee spills on it. So then year 2 or year 3, whenever that might happen, you can then submit that budget adjustment request to purchase that new laptop. But it is a one-time grant. So just keep that in mind. If you got one that's working good for now, maybe hang on to that lever to pull later when you might need a new laptop.
Great, thank you, Melissa. Rhonda, I'm going to come over to you for a moment. And the question I wanted to ask you is, hold on. One second, bear with me. Oh, so if you talked about bills being available for download starting on July 10th. If a scholarship comes in after that point in time, can you just talk about how the bill is adjusted?
Scholarships are received by our third-party payers team, and they're typically posted depends on how the scholarship provider wants it posted. So if the entire scholarship should go towards one semester, then Melissa, can you is that how it is that correct? If a scholarship check comes in, and the scholarship organization wants the check to go towards one semester, then we'll post it to one semester. If the organization wants it split, or wants it split between the year, then we'll post it between the semesters. If they want it all posted on one semester, then we'll do that. So it really depends on how the scholarship organization wants it dispersed, but it'll be dispersed after whenever it's received. If it's already paid, if the tuition is already paid, when the payment comes in and the payments were made by the student, then the refund would go back to the student.
Great, thank you, Rhonda. We've had a few questions asking a little bit about health insurance and waiving that. So I'm going to drop a link in our chat for folks that includes information about the health insurance waiver. So I would encourage you to explore that website. And if you are running into issues, you can certainly contact the staff at Student Health. If you're having trouble submitting or have a deeper question about your health insurance and whether that meets the criteria, et cetera. I know if you watch from 2 weeks ago, we had actually maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, we had the health presentation, and they did talk a little bit about health insurance in there. So you may want to refer back to those slides, and it explains a little with greater depth about the requirements for that, and that may help answer some of the questions I'm seeing. Okay, with that, there have been a few questions about utilizing the 529 plans. and applying those to your student's account, how and where to send that in. And so with the 529, that can be used to cover parts or all of your outstanding balance. Kevin had to leave a little bit early and would probably be the best person to answer that. What I would recommend is that you reach out to the SEAM office utilizing one of the methods we shared. And you can ask that question if you want to get into particulars. Okay, let me see. We had a few more questions that I wanted to throw out. Melissa, maybe this is one for you. So back to health insurance, there's a question about whether health insurance can be included in the Parent Plus loan.
That's a good question. So, and it's helpful to point out, so the cost of the JSU health insurance is not part of your cost of attendance. So the max that a parent can borrow in the Parent Plus loan is the cost of attendance minus other financial assistance that the student is receiving. So your cost of attendance, you will be able to view that in your award screen or on our website, but it includes your tuition expenses, your for first year, it'd be your on-campus housing expenses and on-campus food expenses, the meal plan, and then indirect costs such as travel, transportation, books, materials, and miscellaneous items. The health insurance is an additional cost, and students are required to have health insurance, but if you have health insurance through your family's health insurance, you can opt out of it. So the max that you could borrow with the Parent Plus loan, we wouldn't be able to include that health insurance cost in the cost of attendance because it's not part of the cost of the attendance.
Great, thank you, Melissa. Here's a question that I think everyone might like to hear. So I know, Melissa, you talked about changing family circumstances. You can reapply to have someone in your office look at the award eligibility. If you have never been awarded financial aid previously and you have a changing circumstance, can you apply at any time for that?
Sure. So since I know we do have some international students here with us, as well as domestic students, I do want to, because international students, we are need to wear your financial aid is determined at time of admissions. So we aren't able to consider appeals for reconsideration for international students for financial aid. So if you hadn't applied or had been eligible for financial aid at time of admissions as an international applicant, we typically are not able to make any adjustments or changes to that. If you are a domestic applicant, you're a student, so U.S. citizen, permanent resident, eligible non-citizen student, and were admitted as a domestic applicant, you can submit a reconsideration for financial aid at any time for the academic year that you're going to be attending. So if something changed, or let's say you applied for financial aid for your freshman year and you weren't eligible for financial aid based on our review of your application, but things change, a parent lost a job and now you only have one income, or that was the sole income earner in your family, you can certainly appeal your financial aid decision and we can reconsider based on the change in circumstance. Or in the next year, you can reapply again. And because each year we're going to be looking at a different tax year. So when you applied for coming in financial aid for this year, we based everything off of your 2020, the base year was 2023 income. Next year, we'll be looking at 2024 income. So certainly if there was a change of income in 2024 and 2024 was less, or a change in your family's circumstances, you can certainly apply for financial aid and a reconsideration. So two options through the appeal process during the academic year that you're looking for aid for, or applying for in the next year that you're like, I'm good this year, but I don't think we're going to be good next year, then you would submit your financial aid application for that following year. I hope that clarifies things.
Great, thank you, Melissa. Melissa, for the work study, can someone take a work study job that is not a part of JHU? Are there any positions like that that are off campus?
Sure, certainly. So work study is essentially a placeholder in your financial aid award package of potential work earnings. So that expectation that students are working a little bit over the school year and using those earnings to go towards indirect expenses. So you can certainly work at any employer. The only difference with federal work study, if you're a student eligible for federal work study, you are also eligible for any jobs that require you to have that. As I explained, federal work study means that the government is subsidizing some of your wages. It's need-based based off the review of your FAFSA application. And so some employers might require you to have federal work study for those positions because it's a way to stretch their budget and hire more employees. So if you have federal work study, then to utilize those federal work study funds, you would be working for a federal work study, but it doesn't mean you have to go to an employer that is participating in the federal work study program. You can work it anywhere, and those earnings are yours to earn. Just with federal work study, you can only earn up to a maximum of 2,700 federal work study funds. That's how much the government will let you earn in subsidized wages. After that, then your employer would have to cover your full wages. So, long answer short, if you have work set, you can work anywhere. We're not limiting it to you. It's just, if you're utilizing those federal work study funds, if you're eligible for federal work study, it gives you that opportunity to work with employers that may require that because then they can stretch their budget a little bit more.
Great, thank you. Rhonda, there have been a couple questions about when a payment needs to be mailed in. Would that be utilizing the address that you shared earlier in the presentation?
Let's see. No, the address to mail checks in, it can be found on our same student accounts page under billing. But let's see, let me find that address for you.
Great, we can drop that in for those who are asking about that address.
Perfect.
So a question, Melissa, while Rhonda's working on that. If a student has not been awarded any financial aid, is there still an opportunity to apply for any kind of merit or other scholarships either now or later after the year begins?
Great question. So merit scholarships are your students are considered for merit scholarships, Hopkins merit scholarships, through their admissions application. So that is decided by the admissions office, and they use the students' admissions applications to select students for merit scholarships. So if a student was not selected for merit scholarships at time of admission, then unfortunately there's not a way to apply for merit scholarships later. I always do like to make sure families are aware that merit scholarship funding at Hopkins is very limited. We have a very talented pool of applicants, and so the majority of our aid is need-based aid based on your financial aid application. So please do not feel disheartened if you are not awarded merit scholarship at time of admissions, because it is so very limited, and all of you are so talented. That's why the majority of our aid is need-based aid. Now, again, certainly if financial circumstances have changed, you can certainly request a reconsideration if you were a domestic applicant, and let us know of any special circumstances. We're always happy to take a second look to see and reconsider your need-based eligibility. And you can also explore all different types of private scholarships that are out there. You can apply for those throughout your time at Hopkins. Our private scholarships page has a list of a number of different organizations you can explore, as well as scholarship search engines, where you set up essentially a profile for yourself, and they'll send you scholarships that you might meet the criteria for and may want to consider applying for.
Great, thank you, Melissa. Looking at we have a few more minutes. Let's see. There's a couple of questions about specifically if something counts as third party payment. What I would encourage you to do is go ahead and reach out to the SEAM office at some of the through some of the contact methods that were shared, just if you want to ask about a very particular payment. There's another question, Melissa, about proof of registration as a requirement for an outside scholarship. Would you be able to speak to that?
Um, it would depend on what, sometimes it could be a billing statement. It could be a copy of the student's course schedule. Sometimes the outside agency might have a form that needs to be completed. We'll sometimes receive forms from students that their outside scholarship agency is requesting us to fill out. So it depends on the agency. You could, or you can reach out to SEAM through the registration office. But a lot of times, a billing statement or a copy of your course schedule can be sufficient as proof of registration, especially if they see that tuition charge in your billing summary. But if there's a form, definitely submit a SEAM case and saying, hey, my outside scholarship agency is requesting this form to be completed to confirm my enrollment, and then we'll be sure to make sure you get what you need.
Great, thank you so much. I'm just looking at kind of final ones, and I appreciate everyone's time and great questions. I'm still going through a few because there are a lot coming in. Some of the ones that I talked about with health insurance, I would encourage you to particularly talk to student health about those, and I will try to get you a good link for that. They're also in the chat. Kelsey dropped in email for student benefits. So if you have a more specific question that you can't find answered on a web page, feel free to utilize that. And then how about one last one? So I know we talked about paying by credit card, Rhonda, but where do folks need to go to make that payment?
Payments would be made through the SIS online systems, so through SIS self-service.
Great, and that was the web address I think you included in one of your early slides.
Yes.
Very good. Okay. So with that, I really appreciate everyone's time this evening. Please join me in thanking our three panelists, and thank you for sharing all of this valuable information. In addition, I'd like to thank all of you, our participants, our new incoming Blue Jay families, for joining us tonight. Together, we are partners in the success of your student. We know sharing this information empowers you to navigate the systems and support your student in their ultimate success. So please feel free to continue reaching out to us when you run into roadblocks or you have questions. We're always happy to help. And as you saw, there's a number of ways you can reach out to folks, including myself, if I can be of service. As a reminder, a copy of this recording will be available on our website by the end of the day Friday, and that will be available through the Hop on Board webinar series. We have two more Hop on Board webinars that are focused on families. On July 23rd at 7 p.m., we will have one focused for our FLY students, which are first generation or limited income network students. And then the last one will be August 6th at 7 p.m. And that one is focused on what to expect on move-in day. So if you've never been to a college move-in, this is your chance to hear a little bit about what to expect, how you will be guided through campus, and things that you should be prepared to bring and do once you get here. And for both of those, registration is available on the Hop on Board webinar website. One final note before we leave, as you plan for arrival and physical transition to campus, Your student will be required to attend new student orientation, which starts at 6:30 on August 17th and continues until classes start on Monday, August 25th. We want to just remind you, we love having you here, but your student will have limited time to physically connect with you after orientation begins. So we ask that you just plan your travel arrangements accordingly. Again, please join me in thanking our presenters for the evening, and we hope to see you at the next Hop on Board. Thank you all, and good evening.